Hey, hey, hey! It's the first ever real estate marathon. I'm your host, Jas Takhar.
Welcome back once again. I hope you enjoyed that podcast with Gary Vee. He is the king and master when it comes to producing content. Why would we talk about that? And why am I going to be introducing my next guest, the brother from another mother, Mr. Justin Konikow? You guys see him around here behind me. Why? Because the segment after this, I think it's around 5:30, we're going to be speaking about all things joint ventures. What happens with joint venture partners, people say it all the time, how do I go get partners? Well, one way to do it is speak to the world. Speak to the world through video. Speak to the world through audio or the written word or pictures or whatever. Speak to the world and get in contact with people. You want to start networking, and a way to do that is producing content. I called Gary Vee the master. I think the guy that's coming behind me is the up-and-coming master at creating content. I like to think I'm pretty good at it, but the guy behind me is amazing. And his team from Prime Brokerage, he does service the London real estate market. He's my go-to guy. He's REC Canada's go-to guy. Going back to what Tyler Walburn was speaking about, the REC Real Estate Concierge Services. If you ask somebody about, hey, can I get in touch with somebody in the London real estate market? There's no one other than this gentleman right here. It's Mr. Justin Konikow. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, Jazzy. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you so much because you took the drive in from London. I asked you, and this has been kind of something that I've been saying a lot today, that I sent out a text message, the team sent out the text message to our speakers, and everyone just showed up. But you drove in from London today, and I really appreciate that, my man.
I sure did. I mean, it goes to a context around what you just said, right? You talk about speaking to the world and putting passion, optimism, positivity out there. Well, when he calls me to take a drive, I didn't even hesitate because of just all the good faith you've put into our relationship, all the effort you put into this. Like, I don't think the audience understands necessarily the level of people that you have in this room. If you actually stack them up once against another, you'll get access to people like this, right? We used to live in a world where you had to know somebody to kind of get to that guy and get that knowledge that you can implement in your own life. Now, Jas is giving it away for free, so how could I not make the drive?
Thank you so much for those kind words, my man. You do service the London real estate market. We're going to touch on that a little bit, but I really want to go and speak heavily into producing content.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Because investors, why is it important? Why do you think it's important that investors should produce content?
Simple answer, actually, we were just talking about it 2 seconds ago, and it's you. So put yourself in this situation. You own a company, you have a business, because that's what you're doing as an investor. And the one problem you have is you don't have any help. You just wish you could have 10 assistants, maybe a marketing department, maybe, millions of dollars behind you helping you fund your business, right? Guess what you do? If you look at social media the right way, you have companies like Google and Facebook trying to help you get to your audience.
Well, explain that a little bit more.
People don't understand, right? They look at social media or they look at digital media and think, it's literally for kids. Right? Let's go back to like the early 2000s. How many of you said, I'll never be on Facebook? And your kids went on Facebook and then you wanted to know what they're doing, so you did. They ran away from you. They went to Instagram. You followed them there. Now they're on TikTok. Guess who's going on TikTok? Probably you.
Yeah, that's so true. And who you would never think about doing emojis. Now we have 72-year-olds doing poop emojis, right? Sending poop emojis to their friends and stuff, right? You're seeing a lot of it. Yeah.
Out of control.
Right.
The reason I said that, right? The reason I led the conversation is as I was driving here, I really wanted to bring you guys value and shift your mindset, because you need to break the pattern, right? A lot of people look at social media, they care, well, nobody's following me, I don't have anything to say, there's no value. Let's wipe all that off the table, right? What you need to think about is you have these massive corporations whose algorithms are absolutely incredible. I watched a recent webcast about Facebook lead targeting. And they said this one guy who built his entire business on Facebook leads has had the same lead campaign running for 10 years.
The same one, the exact same one.
Okay. And he actually said when he set the lead campaign up, he kept it really simple.
Okay.
He said, this is what I sell, this is my current audience, and then let Facebook do the work. Because Facebook is much smarter than we are about going in and trying to mess around with the algorithm, and audience, and everything else. So what we were just speaking to was, let the companies do what they do best because they've got millions of dollars behind them. Focus on who you are, who your audience might be, and then as you're producing content, you're going to attract the clientele you want to work with, and it's actually going to filter out those people that you probably don't want to work with anyways.
And as an investor, you have the opportunity as your network grows, and I've said it a few times today on the marathon, I say it 1,000 times, you speak about it, that your network will always determine your net worth. So the best thing that you should be doing, in my opinion, produce content, grow out your network, build relationships. Yes, through content you're doing it digitally, but we have thousands of people watching this right now and nobody's here live other than us as the speaker. So a lot can be done virtually, and a lot of deep relationships can be made virtually and digitally now. As an investor and a wannabe joint venture partner, that's how you're going to get connected.
And I'm actually going to fix a lot of your problems today.
Okay, I like
on this session.
Thank you.
I was thinking, I'm like, what do consumers, what do I deal with, right? Like, I'm not perfect, neither's Jas, as beautiful as he is. We all struggle with the same feelings of inadequacy, imposter syndrome.
Those insecurities.
I literally, Callum was on, net worth of 1.8 billion. Like, how am I in the same room as that guy? But Callum's a buddy of mine. I know him on a personal level, and I respect him, and I have him in my ecosystem because of those relationships in good faith. But what I was going to say is, people get over analytical about what they're putting online, right? And the fakeness of what they think they need to do. So when you're going online, right, and this is one of the main things I was going to fix for everybody watching, if you're interested in content creation, you don't always have to post. Content creation isn't necessarily, I got to post some photo every single day on Instagram, and it's
or make a video.
Make a video and 67 pieces of content a day, whatever it looks like. Literally going online, going on LinkedIn right now, which is like Instagram 2012, and engaging in 10 conversations a day will actually increase your exposure 100-fold.
I think it'll actually, it will get you deeper relationships than just producing content. So talk now, let's go deeper into that. So going on LinkedIn, going on Facebook or Instagram, and commenting. So
commenting, like real comments.
Got it.
Like I see Jas, and as well as I know him, if I see him post something, adding to the conversation in a thoughtful way, not trolling people or just dropping emojis, like being genuine about who he is and just contextual. And if I have nothing to say, I'll move on to another conversation. But as you do that, the algorithm nowadays actually do not value followers anymore. They value you as a community engagement.
Right.
So if you're going online and you do all these things and you turn around and then you post a piece of good content yourself with some context, you'll notice your growth will compound. It's happened to us. So we actually unfollowed a ton of people that aren't in kind of the sphere that we're in.
Right.
Started posting a little bit less, started commenting more, and I say we've grown probably 35%. Just switching that one tactic. The real goal, though, is when I go online, I'm not just scrolling, right? Like, how often do you just pick up your phone and you're going through the feed and you're like, oh, I didn't get invited to that party, or I'm not here, or I'm not there. Like, the negativity goes away because you're being purposeful about your engagement with these platforms. Where most people struggle is they just go on without a purpose, they get sucked into a wormhole, and they're watching things that are detracting from their life. And it's a muscle you have to work out. And when you catch it happening, you got to stop yourself. Shift yourself into active engagement versus passive. And you'll notice over time that attrition will grow and compound like you can't imagine.
And going back, this is all about building relationships. This is not about building out your social media platforms and profiles. Like, great, that might be the byproduct of what happens, but I want you to focus on building relationships. And what we said earlier, Justin, you're going to love this, because I said, look, take a picture of Justin and I talking now. Use the hashtag REC Marathon. And while you put that hashtag up there, go into Instagram, search that hashtag, see who everyone else, like see all the other people that are using that hashtag, and go into their comments. It fit like a glove what you're saying, Justin, that go into those comments, go into those posts, and speak about, and start commenting. And engage with people, ask questions, find out what they're doing that's working well for them, find out that didn't work well for them, so you can learn and you don't have to hit your head against the wall. What are some other ways that they can, so we spoke about engaging, commenting, all that. Let's talk about producing content.
Oh, I love it. So one thing you guys don't know is we actually own a company called Prime Media Productions. We kind of, you know about it.
Yes, I know about it.
We're like McDonald's. We make our own French fries. We have a wicked crew. You guys have collaborated.
It's all in-house and all that. Yeah, I love it.
Now, as we're going through this, like, just by nature of what we do a lot of business consulting. So, like, we have clients in the commercial space asking us about stuff. As closing gifts sometimes, we'll go in, shoot some scissor reels and videos and show them how to deploy that and gain, brand in the city and get more customers. They grow. It's all synergistic. Like, I love real estate. That's my goal, is to be the best real estate broker on the face of the planet. But at the end of the day, relationships dive deeper.
100%.
So when we started doing production and content. Literally, like, it was me with this, right? If you go to the Prime Daily episodes, we're at 6:45 now.
Holy
it was me in my
congratulations,
garage.
buddy. That's awesome.
But it's funny, right? Like, if I go back to the beginning, it was me in the garage like this, no text, no layovers, barely edited, grainy, and it still worked. And then I got a little bit better. And then I realized from smart guys like him that lighting matters.
Steven and Clem and Keegan.
Audio matters, right? It was like, okay, you know, if the audio sucks, it's worthless. Just get a good mic. Okay, now the audio's good. Get a good light. You know, the ring lights are amazing. Like, the equipment we have these days, these guys know, you'd have to pay like $100,000 to get that same rig. Like, to get a gimbal that you can buy for $150.
What is a gimbal?
Bucks, the Osmo 3, like the handheld things for your phone.
Yeah.
I did 3 live videos on my phone with that yesterday.
Okay.
$150. A little bit of me watching YouTube videos on how to use it.
Yes.
And I was able to probably get 1,000 eyeballs.
Well, hang on one sec, because I love what you said there, my man, because I know there's somebody watching. There's a guy or a gal watching right now and saying, I don't know how to do any of this. Well, you didn't know how to drive a car. You figured it out, right? Now, you said that word, YouTube. A lot of you are watching live on YouTube right now. You can search how to use a gimbal, how to use, I don't even know some of these words, but how to use and or how to produce content. You can YouTube it, you can Google it, figure it out.
So let's go back to that, right? Like, I'm speaking to a context that some people might understand, but let's pretend you're Jas and you don't even really use a laptop and you have your phone and everything else. Like, it's totally attainable because there's only a certain level that you need to obtain to really get good at it, right? Like, it's a skill like anything else. And it's scary to a lot of people, but if you don't try doing it, you're going to go back in 30 years and say, oh, if only I did this, right?
Well, only if you invested in Amazon.
Yeah, and honestly...
you know what I mean? If you invested in Facebook or Google, right?
And, like, if you start doing it and you hate it, stop doing it. Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, people get distracted and think, I have to do what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
So let's use Facebook ads for an example. I mentioned that as a tangible example.
Yeah.
I don't actually recommend that for a lot of people.
Right, there's a lot to it.
I had a call with an agent from New Jersey, right? So, you know, she and I were talking, and she's like, I need to get really good at Facebook ads. I'm like, I'll show you the secret recipe. I'm like, we did 485 leads last year. Our conversion's $2.73. But I'm like, for you, I wouldn't spend a penny on it. Because it's not going to bring the type of leads that help you build your business. So I said, what type of business do you have? And she told me, and I'm like, you're 100% past client and referrals. I'm like, instead of you spending $150 on a Facebook ad, take a client out for dinner. Do a Popeye. Bring somebody a coffee. Like, you.
Right.
And that will actually give you 10 times the business that a Facebook ad campaign can. And what I'm trying to say with that is people get really distracted with short-term money and thinking, well, my competition's doing this, so I have to do this. Look at Jazzy. I remember when he called me and he started all this. It was one foot in front of the other.
Right.
And we had a lot of conversations about growth and what it looks like and what's the audience think and how's it growing, and you know, you hit these plateaus and it's tough.
Yeah.
But you were able to step back and say, that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
And irregardless of the noise, keep going forward.
I
but
agree.
then make adjustments along the way.
Yes, for sure.
So if you're like, Justin, there's no way I'm using this gimbal, okay, have him around you.
Exactly.
Or be thoughtful about it, right?
And if you're sitting at home right now and saying, okay, look, I don't have the money to have a videographer with me or have a photographer with me, whatever it is. I can't even afford getting someone to edit some of my videos. Don't worry. Even starting the way that you started, I don't know where my phone is, somebody has it. But I mean, like just starting like that, that's something. In fact, you'll get a lot of engagement just shooting raw videos. But now let's talk a little bit about everyone who's watching who's saying, I never want to get in front of a video. What's some other ways of producing content?
You know the recipe. It's
100%.
basically words, pictures, video. Pretty much whatever you're comfortable doing can be repurposed into other methods, right? There's so much gold out there to show you how to do that, but you just pick one. My videographer, his girlfriend actually, is a phenomenal writer. And I was talking to him yesterday, I'm like, why doesn't she do an editorial a week on Medium? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just tell her to commit to writing one thoughtful article.
What's Medium?
It's a blog.
Yeah.
Post. It's a website where you go on and write some words. And I don't even like typing. I voice to text a lot of my actual blogs, right? Like, I hit the function button twice on my computer and I talk.
Right.
Because that's just how I am. But you gotta find what method you like to create it. And think about it. I also thought about this on the way here. Like, I like photography and videography. I love real estate. I incorporate both into what I do. So if you like cats, you can become the cat real estate agent.
100%.
Incorporate cats into your life and tell people, you know, everything they need to know.
Well, if they're an investor, right? As an investor,
exactly.
That's actually really easy. Like, I love that segue because as an investor, you don't always want to be talking about that you're looking for money. But I'm saying, talk about the cats. Or like you like pizza, talk about pizza. Whatever it is, Laura loves to eat food. She should probably do a lot of that. Keegan loves documentaries and stuff, and Clem loves soccer, and Steven loves music. And so I would continue producing that type of content because you're growing your following, and you have more opportunity that gets presented in front of you.
Dude, if people like boats, for example, and you're an investor, and your content is always you sitting on a boat speaking to your audience, or just talking about boating life, you're going to attract people that are interested in that. You're going to happen to have a knowledge around a certain topic,
right?
Just like I do in real estate. I'd say 90% of my conversations I have with the people I do the most business with,
right,
in the investment world or the real estate world, is centered around not even the transaction. So it's about everything else. And then we go over the optics of the transaction. The trust is already there because the relationship is built. Then we execute. But be a human being, I guess, is the end of this conversation that we should really discuss is don't pretend to be something you're not. Show the world who you actually are. And not everybody's going to like my content. And I'm actually totally cool with that because the people that do are people that are trying to do stuff like we're doing. Yeah. And it just makes me want to give back to that community.
I love what you said, be yourself. Why? Because I think the most success that I've had has been in this last 2-3 years. Like our whole business, myself personally, like personal branding, all that stuff has really skyrocketed. And it all happened the day that I said, I'm just going to be myself. I'm comfortable in t-shirts. I said, you know what? I'll brand them a little bit just to get the word out a little bit more. I like jeans. I like runners. That's what I'm going to do. But I'm also going to speak the way that I speak. And I'm not going to try to be anyone else. The coolest thing happened. I attracted the right people. And the people that I sit down with for meetings now, they already got a sense of me. The ice is broken now, right? Does that make sense, Justin? Like I'm not wasting time on is Jas full of shit or not? Like they've already kind of liked something about me. It's why they've come into the office.
I agree with you 1,000%. I thought of that earlier with the team this week. We were discussing, the types of people we want to work with in the business we want to do. By the time people are there, they already know us to a very, very big degree, right? And the conversations we still go through and showing them why we want to do what we want to do. And we're conservative, so we always make sure we show them the risk factor and everything else. But it's such a different mindset, and you guys need to get out of the matrix. Stop looking at what other people are doing, trying to replicate it and do what they're doing. And like you talked about gear and everything else, like some of the biggest YouTube channels have the worst quality content. Like my daughter will watch a video of somebody unboxing a toy. It's got 14 million views, and it's like a shaky camera that you can't even see, right? So like people have a tendency of just being overly critical about themselves or even their flaws. Right? I talk fast. My mind moves probably faster than my lips do. I'm self-deprecating to the audience about it, but I'm just an excitable guy.
100%.
Right?
Well, you're bringing that passion. It's look. I mean, it's a great segue into something else I want to talk to you about, and then we're going to end it at talking about the London real estate market because I'd just be silly if I have the expert, the top dog, and the top team in London, and we didn't speak about all things real estate investing in that area. But collaborations. Right, and the reason I said it was a great segue to what you said, like you're yourself, I'm myself. We got connected 6, 7, 8 years ago, and now like you tell me everything that works for you, and that doesn't work for you. I do the same. We do a lot of business together. We are, and I'm taking you saying it, like it's iron sharpens iron, right?
All day. Like we're technically competitors if you look at it that way.
From the the outside world.
Whenever you tell me that, I'm always confused because I'm like, it's my Indian brother.
Yeah, 100%.
We're literally family, right? That's the way that we look at it. But it took time to get there from the standpoint of really understanding how different we can operate. I think the whole world is going through some massive shifts right now. And one thing that I'm realizing is it is really going from that kind of old boys club, behind closed door, barriers to entry to the world's yours for the taking, and you can go do whatever you want to do and get it. Like even a company, the way you guys run is as a collaborative, right? Like you have some incredibly talented people. Look at this, doing what they're doing, right? And you're not the top dog just saying like you do this and you do this 24/7.
No, it's the other way around. They tell me what the heck I'm doing half the time. Like more than half the time is go here, do this, do that, right?
It's all about the talent. And we used to live in a world where it was about upper management and the talent really just punched a clock and they didn't really care. Now people can have a thoughtful impact on the world around them. Think of you as the same setup as an investor. You're sitting there and the people that you're around, they're all talent that you get to collaborate with. You may not work at the same company, but you're in the same ecosystem, so be thoughtful about it.
I totally agree. My man, we are at the real estate marathon today.
okay, and we have tons and tons of investors, okay, and I want to talk to the investors from a couple of different angles, okay, about London real estate market. Give me a quick Reader's Digest synopsis on what's happening in the London real estate market. So during this, like right now, sitting in, what is it, mid-August, exactly mid-August, maybe what we just passed in the July months, because you and I have done so much content, and go see, Justin, what's your Instagram profile, buddy?
At Justin.Konikow.
Okay, go there, and we'll put this link up a lot more. You've done so many videos of like what was happening at the start of COVID. So I want to talk about like current now, what's going on in the London real estate market.
Super low inventory. You're having the same price battles. Like it's a secondary market, right? So all the secondary markets right now are popping, and people are just battling it out in the streets. I mean, I'm listing a place Monday. I think actually it's going to be sold today. We were going to list at $599. It's probably going to sell for $700, right? So like that's happening in London. That really hasn't
So I love
happened.
that you said that, right? I'm sorry to cut you off really quickly, because you said you're listing for $599. It's probably going to go to $700. It's actually like that's done on purpose, but there's a way to win in those as well. And our next segment is going to be speaking about how to win in bidding wars. So make sure you stick around for that. Go.
For sure. And I was going to say, like, it's one of those things where we operate independent of the markets. Like, I look to guys like this for advice. When it first started happening in London, I called you in like 2016. I'm like, how do you operate when the market's like this? Because we've never seen it. He shared his tips. We implemented them. So I always pretend like I see kids, like you watch a 5-year-old play soccer and like a little cluster of kids and the ball goes out and everybody chases the ball.
Yeah.
We're on the sidelines, like we're analyzing the field, and we'll come in and you'll find these pockets where you can have a lot of success. So like I have an off-market 10plex we told you about. We're going to kick it out to...
Sorry, when you say pockets, you mean like geographically?
No,
or like
no. So waves, right? So
I apologize.
market waves. The market's like that right now.
Yeah.
Next week it may not be like that because L-Star puts out a stat saying it's the craziest seller's market ever.
Right.
Everybody lists their house.
Yes.
All of a sudden there's way more inventory and it's not as competitive. They don't get multiple offers. So you see this and you see this, and if you time it right, you can get there. You just got to be unemotional about it and be able to step back and not get caught up in all the hype.
So you said obviously supply and demand. Just for somebody who's not, because I've heard you talk about like London and why it's a great place to invest. But there's probably some people who are like, what the heck is going on in London? Give me a couple of minutes on that.
Average purchase price used to be in like 270, 300 range. We're creeping up on 500 right now. Very affordable. You can still get a really good product, and our rents are super high. So that's why it's attracting a lot of investment. And you can still get cash flowing properties that have a good upside. London's one of the oldest cities in Canada.
Yeah.
So a lot of the rents, it's the Greek guy that owned it that hasn't changed the rents in 40
We're talking
years.
about Simos?
Yeah, no, not
Oh, another Greek guy. Okay.
The other thing is proximity, right? They call it the fourth city, and when I take people on tours in London, it is beautiful. Like the nature trails, the quick access to the beaches, Grand Bend, Port Stanley. Like you were in Grand Bend recently.
Just like you
looks like Port, right?
Yeah, it actually does.
You have quick access to some
the
pretty
overwater
awesome
bungalows.
stuff.
It's just missing the overwater bungalows and all that kind of stuff.
We'll figure that part out. I was born and raised in Montreal, and the other thing that I always say is, like, I was spoiled with food growing up. We have some of the best local entrepreneurs and restaurateurs ever. So, like, the subculture in London's phenomenal. We deal with the same political and issues that everybody else does. I say we succeed in spite of all that stuff.
Okay.
And London really does have that wherewithal, and everybody kind of knows everybody twice removed. So
I love that.
It inspires a lot of growth.
Okay, so now let's get into the micro of it a little bit. What strategies work well in London?
Exactly what I just said, buying underperforming properties, doing the work to get them up to a performing class, and then keeping them forever. Don't ever resell it if you don't have to.
Buy and hold.
It's tough to find good properties. Again, like this goes to what we talked about earlier about, looking at the base of people you want to work with. And before I used to work with everything, look at every property, good, bad, or otherwise. People would send me these deals that were just not deals that I would do. And I would spend a lot of time vetting them and saying, why not to do them? Now we don't even bother looking at them because we have a certain asset class we look after, certain types of investors that, are at a level where they're looking at it as a business. They have a plan. We're more consultants than we are salespeople,
100%.
right? So, that's, to me, the way to find the inventories. Again, somebody asked me that today. They saw the 10plex that I was at yesterday.
Got it.
And they said, how do you get these properties? And I said, relationships.
And that comes kind of back full circle to what we were saying. How do you build those relationships in today's day and age? Producing content, it's not expensive.
The 10plex came from a podcast I did with this guy that you saw at Toboggan like a year and a half. The first one that we ever did, right? Like literally years ago.
You just never know where it's going to come from.
That's probably going to go to investor next week, right?
Is there anything else that's happening in terms of like a new project that might be coming out in London? Anything that we can kind of keep our eyes and ears open? Like it might be not now, it might be later. I want to make sure that I keep our investors kind of in the loop.
So we do. We're pretty quiet about what we do
Got
have
it.
because it is very limited inventory.
You'll share it with me?
Yeah, I'll share it with you guys.
Awesome.
There's some new construction stuff. So like pre-construction hasn't really been a thing in London. We've
Right.
talked a lot about that. Most of the developers are just keeping their buildings.
Got it.
I have a feeling a lot of buildings are going to get repurposed to condos or condominiumized and then sold off because our prices are getting to that point. We have a lead on a few projects that we think are dynamite, but again, we're conservative and we're looking long term.
Right.
Right now, it's really getting those multifamily units that everybody wants, right? The 6+ units, the 32 unit buildings. That's kind of what we're really focusing on, but we're very selective about what we do.
Love it.
Just like you see 60 projects a year, we probably get pitched the same amount of multifamily inventory.
Right.
It's just a lot of times what it takes to get those deals done is very comprehensive. We know the bank's not going to lend against it, so it's a much more comprehensive job than just saying, hey, look, it's on MLS, or hey, I got sent this wholesale deal, and just pulling the trigger on that and trying to get it done, right?
My man, I need you to leave our marathoners today with a tip. And I wanted to actually come from, sometimes I leave it open for everybody, but this one I really want you to hone in on. There's someone right now that's watching that's scared. They're scared to make that jump. And I think overall, I didn't have this planned going into the marathon, into the real estate marathon today, but I just kind of started to feel it for some reason in my gut that there's people watching right now that would love to invest in real estate, but they're scared. They're worried. They got external noise happening. Maybe it's internal. I talk a lot about shutting out that noise. What can you add to that?
That every single person here and every single person watching has been wonderfully and beautifully made. And, you know,
You're talking about me?
everybody.
Oh,
everybody
just
watching.
personally
And
me. Sorry.
We're all unique in our own rights,
Yes, I
right?
agree.
And I know we all have our own struggles and we all have our own problems, and you know, communities that we're in are dealing with the same things. We can get caught in that negativity and forget who we are and what we're capable of. And there are people in this world that have way worse situations than I can promise you almost anybody that we know that have still gone out and done it. So what's stopping you, or what's your excuse? Truthfully, like, I can't spend $5,000 on a DSLR.
You know what happened? You know, just as you said, what's your excuse? It came into my peripheral. Said, I want to invest. That something just came up in the chat, and Bobby, I don't know the name, but I won't call you out yet. I want to invest, but I don't have the income. So
Doesn't
that's
matter.
what they're saying. That's stopping.
It doesn't
Let's
matter.
walk them
Like,
through this.
We talked to Scott about this recently,
Yes.
and like money's actually the least of the problems.
Yes.
Like, finding the deals is the hardest thing. Right?
Exactly.
So if I tell you that the people who are making moves right now,
Yeah.
the money's like, some of them don't have money, but they have relationships that they're willing to work on to get the deals done. Like, now what's your excuse?
Well, look, I mean, if you're going to be purchasing something that's $1 million and you need 20% down, it's quite simple. You need $200,000. We know what the math is. You need $200,000 as a down payment. Now we just got to figure out how we're going to get that $200,000. Maybe it's going to be 200 people with $1,000. Maybe it's going to be 2 people with $100,000 each. See, it's not the how. I hope everyone got the pattern. I hope everyone's getting the message. It's the what and the why. What is it that you're looking for, and why do you want it? See, the how will always appear. I always wanted to collaborate with someone outside of the realm that I was working in, the area geographically that I was working in. I never knew Justin, but then he came into my life. The how comes in. It always will. The opportunities everywhere. You need to get in front of it. So whoever just said, I want to invest into real estate, but I don't have income. See, you're not asking yourself the right question. The question you need to ask yourself is, who is going to give me the income? Your brain is like a computer. Long before Google, it will always find the answer. But you got to tell your brain what you're looking for.
And we got to do a lot of soul searching around that, right? I was with a guy 2 days ago who just sold his company for $100 million. And like, I didn't even really talk about real estate. I was like, I just want to be around you. I'm like, I don't want anything from you, because I bet you every banker in real estate.
That's how I feel about you,
just,
by the way, just so you know. I
Not
just want to be
quite.
around you half the time. That's all it is.
I think Callum's money is just floating around here somewhere too.
Hopefully he left his card here
Yeah.
somewhere, yeah.
No, but literally, right? Like, what I said to him, I'm very straightforward with people, and I said, I bet you like everybody since then just wants something from you, right? I said, more than anything, I just want to know how you did it. And when I talked to him, and I talked to another gentleman actually who's probably bigger than he is,
Yeah.
they gave the same answer. They're like, you get to a point where the money's not even really a consideration. And you really, if you honor the work and you just show up, it'll come. right? So if you don't have a penny to your name and you want to buy $1 million property, you got to find 200. Get around people that have already done it.
Yes.
Offer them something of value. Go get their coffee. Like, go do something for them just to be around them. Say, hey, like, develop a relationship with them. Bring them value. Like, you've done it. I've done it for months and years on end with some people till they realize that I'm not a crazy person and I'm actually just somebody that's genuinely interested in what they're doing. And then they open the door and then they let you in and realize, like, okay, this is why you're doing it. You don't want something from me. Then you have that leverage, right? And you have the ability to get deep with people. And you'll always jump between different relationships to
For
get to
sure.
where you want to go. And the person that you are today is like, I'm the person that I was 20 years ago is very different than the person I am today. But the person I'm going to be in 20 years is going to be very different from the person I am today. I'm sure.
Well, I still love the person you are today. Because again, you did what you did for me, and you always do. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making the trip from London. Please tell your wife, please tell your daughter a huge thank you from Jas and everyone at REC, because I know I took you away from some family time today, but you made the trip.
It's all good,
I
brother.
love you, Konikow. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right.
Everybody should appreciate what this guy's doing.
Oh, wow.
It's
Thank
pretty
you.
awesome.